Now, before you call me raggedy, hear me out. Hear me out. I am, okay? But I came back with some heat. I'm telling y'all right now, this is a spiritual breakdown of the movie Sinners. It will be spoilers. Get your popcorn. Now I'm giving the disclaimer that this is my official spiritual review for the movie Sinners. I gave y'all all weekend to watch it. Now we're going to talk about it. This is a spoiler alert. So if you have not seen it, skip this video and then come back. Save this video and then come back. Let's get into it. Welcome back, YouTube. And for those who do not know me, hello, my name is Noah. And on this channel, we talk about death, true crimes, haunted people, places, and things, spiritual reparations, and how you can fuck around and find out if you are not following me. Follow me, bestie. And if you aren't following me over on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, follow me there because the tea is always different on every platform. I know I was MIA, I was missing in action, but I did launch my metaphysical shop and I was giving birth to my baby, okay? And I had to take some time off, but I'm back now. And I am trying to get y'all out content like a mad woman, right? So make sure your notification bells are on because y'all gonna get sick of seeing me. And now that we're back to our regular scheduled program, y'all are really gonna be sick of me. Because I have some heat coming for y'all. I'm so excited to get back to my roots of storytelling. I'm excited for Tarot and Tea, which is in final production. And yeah, thank y'all for supporting me. A lot of y'all have placed orders. That's what's been keeping me away, packing them, learning the system, and just being an entrepreneur, spiritual baddie. I lay y'all down. Another thing that has kept me away is that I've been dealing with my recent identity theft situation. I don't know if y'all thought I was playing when I said the scammers was out here scamming and I got and I was in a data breach. So I've been busy trying to clean up my credit, get things removed and block my information. And that's where our sponsors for this video, Aura, came into play, and they came in clutch. I've been monitoring my credit report, my credit scores, getting my information scrubbed from the dark web because whoever did this absolutely put my information on the dark web. And the great thing about Aura is as soon as anything pops up as suspicious, they notify you and you get those emails and you don't have to worry about your data being further breached by these scammers. My data was breached by using normal sites that I use every single day. And with their VPN browser, ain't nobody getting my information no more. So if you're getting spam text messages from random numbers and people, or even a random USPS message about how your package, your parcel has been delivered and you know you haven't ordered anything, or you're getting recruiters from quote unquote LinkedIn. Yeah, those are all phishing texts. Get your free trial of Aura today. You will not regret it. It's been such a help and made this process so much easier. On today's episode, we will be reviewing all of the spirituality in the movie Sinners. Now, this is, again, the last time I'm going to tell y'all that this is a spoiler alert. You need to go see this movie. Initially, I went in blind. I had seen some previews for the movie, but not the full trailer. Okay, so I went in expecting nothing. And I came out fully engulfed in the experience that Sinners provided. Shout out to the cast, crew, the director, Ryan Coogler. He did his big one. I went and saw it twice. The first time I was in awe. The second time I was taking notes, baby. And if you've never heard of the movie Sinners, it is about two twins named Smoke and Stack, both played by the same person, Michael B. Jordan. Shout out to him. He murdered this role, who are from the Mississippi Delta. and they are returning home after a 7-year stint in Chicago. They were gangsters, they worked for Al Capone, and they came home to open up their own juke joint. When they come home, they have every intention of hiring their baby cousin Sammy to be their entertainment for this juke joint, not fully knowing that Sammy, preacher boy, has spiritual gifts. And we're going to get into that. When he strums that guitar, there's something that happens that is very magical, but very dangerous, because what they don't know is that they have an Irish vampire by the name of Remick running around town turning people. Now, I told y'all that I took notes. I wrote a dissertation low key. So I just want y'all to really go see this movie, because this was the best movie that I've seen in the last 5 years. And I said on my TikTok, I was a little offended because I seen that a lot of palm colored, a lot of white, spooky creators were invited to viewings. I did not see any African American hoodoo practitioners watch this movie, view this movie. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, Ryan, you better check your social media team. Okay. But nonetheless, it was a masterpiece. A masterpiece. I spun the block the next day. I couldn't stop thinking about the movie and conversing with people about the movie. So let's get into it. Ryan Coogler's Sinners movie is a genre-defying movie that's set in Southern 1930s that is surrounded. The whole theme is African American spirituality, spiritual practices, hoodoo, and it's just in the narrative of a vampire movie. But beyond the horror film and the supernatural, it plays into themes about cultural heritage, ancestral connections, and the transformative power of music. You cannot forget that either. Because I told you early, Preacher Boy, i.e. Sammy, had a gift when he strummed his guitar. And his gift was that he could summon the ancestral spirits and the spirits of their future lineage just by singing. He tore the veil. Even though I feel like the film is so dressed up in vampirism, at the heart of Sinners lies the profound influence of hoodoo, and this is the synchronicity of the practice between African American Christianity and West African practices. And it also plays into the African practices as well by kind of alluding to different deities such as Elegua, Papa Legba, right? Elegbaro, however you say it, wherever you're from, how you like your tea poured. It also draws parallels to the legendary tales of blues musicians such as the Robert Johnsons, which Ryan Coogler has said, like, this is supposed to kind of be a spinoff or a play on Robert Johnson. And if you don't know who he is, I made a video on him a while back. If you scroll down my YouTube page, you'll find it. But he is said to be a man who was terrible at playing the guitar, so he went to the crossroads and met the devil and made an exchange for his soul so that he could play the guitar at his best abilities. Now, it's said that when they called it the devil, that he was meeting a legua at the crossroad. That is the pataki that was explained to me. So it very much so lies within that. You know, this was secular music, the guitar, and whenever you are meeting in a place that is a juke joint and everybody around you are Christian or hoodoos, that's very taboo and is very no. So let's get into the characters, okay? Because I don't want this. I could speak Japanese about this movie all day, but let's just get into the characters and what each one meant or what they were supposed to represent, because each person has an archetype that is attached to them, a stereotype that is so niche and it's so different and it's unknown if you are not in the hoodoo or African traditional religion niche. Now, this movie has so many Easter eggs, okay? And if I missed any, I apologize. It's not that I probably don't know them and didn't pick up. It's because I'm so excited to break this down for y'all that I forgot to mention it. So comment down below if you've seen the movie and any eggs that I may have missed. But the first egg that I probably am willing to bet money on, a lot of y'all didn't realize, Ryan Coogler released this on Good Friday. Good Friday. That man is diabolical. The correlation of when the movie was released in my eyes is that the movie is called Sinners, and Christians and Catholics alike observe Good Friday. And, well, you know the rest, I'm assuming. Good Friday, and then we have this Sinners movie who on a Friday night was at a juke joint doing all the things that you're not supposed to be doing on Good Friday. Sammy, which is Preacher Boy, and I'm going to refer to my notes so I don't forget nothing. Sammy embodies the archetype of the griot. What is a griot, you ask? This is a West African storyteller that is able to pierce the veil. His very spiritual storytelling through music connects ancestral spirits together, right? It brings them forth. It also brought spirits from the future. His talented abilities in storytelling, because if you listen to the words of the song that he was singing in the juke joint the night that everything happened, I'm trying to keep it very bare for those who have not seen it, even though I gave you a spoiler alert. But if you notice, he was not only bringing forth the spirits of the past, the ancestral realm. He was piercing into the ancestral realm, but he also was piercing into the future lineage members of everybody in the room. That veil was broken, and it made him susceptible to Remick, which we'll get into him later, because Remick had been turned for a very long time, and he wanted those abilities so he himself could go visit his own people, so he can bring forth his ancestors. And although his father warned him about secular music, it was almost like a battle between good and quote unquote evil. And this kind of underscores the tension between spiritual duty and your passion. There was also notes of character development and duality in Preacher Boy, because when he left the church, he went out a little boy in my eyes. When he came home, he was a man. And it's not just because he was over there sniffing somebody's nookie, okay? It was because of all the experiences and that he got to see the world. And in hoodoo, we want you to experience duality. We do not want you to just be holier than thou or just witchy as ever. That's not what this is about. So I love that he showed that character development and that we were able to see his character grow. All in all, I would say that Sammy was the magician in the tarot deck. He was able to manifest and bring forth spirits unintentionally. And all the warnings that his dad gave him in the beginning of the movie about bringing the devil home whenever you go out there and different things like that, I don't know. I feel like there is a little bit of backstory. I feel like Ryan Coogler left it open because remember, Smoke and Stax's father was brothers with Preacher Boy's father. And Preacher Boy and Smoke and Stax's daddy were totally different. Their dad, the twins' dad, was very abusive, aggressive, whereas Preacher Boy's daddy turned to the church. So not only do we have duality in Smoke and Stax, which we'll get into next, we also have duality within the brothers, the daddies, because how you become this very much so abusive but very musically talented man while your brother becomes a pastor. Duality is a very big concept in hoodoo in general. So the way that he played on this was just Smoke and Stack. Now, a little fact about me, I've never been a Michael B. Jordan girl. I didn't see the hype until that man put on that suit and that top hat. I said, hey, Zaddy. Smoke and Stack literally played down so well in the duality area. One of them had a blue suit. One of them had the red. It was like yin and yang, hot and cool. And I couldn't believe how well Michael B. Jordan played these two characters. They were totally different characters, y'all. It was amazing. The performance was amazing. Their real names in the movie were Elias and Elijah. It's the same thing, okay? Elijah is Elias in Hebrew and vice versa. So it was almost like they are one and the same, but they are very different. They play off each other, they balance each other. Smoke is very pragmatic and skeptical of mythicism, hoodoo, spiritual practices, while Stack is more open to spiritual practices because the mother of his child, I don't know if they were ever married, but they had a child that passed. She was a hoodoo priestess. So he was more open to that, wearing a mojo bag, doing these spell conjurings, what have you, with her. Smoke and Stack were the perfect depiction in a horror film of Cain and Abel. If you remember the biblical story, one of them died while the other one was cursed to live. Do y'all pick this up? Like, I have goosebumps underneath my shirt because the way that they made this so hoodoo, where we still get the magic, but we get the biblical references as well. Clock it. Of course, in the story of Cain and Abel, God cursed Cain to be a fugitive. Think about the word fugitive. Now, at the end, Smoke smoked them clan members, right? And they knew it was two of them. Whenever they found them, do you think they was going to let that right? Do you think that they just was like, oh, well, the twin brother's not here? No, I'm pretty sure they went to go look for him. And fugitives also move primarily at night. They move to be undetected. The next character that I want to break down is my girl Annie. Ryan Coogler could not have chose a better leading lady. I know all of y'all were all over like Mary and like, oh, her and Michael B. Jordan could really be a couple. No. The chemistry was hot. The on-screen romance felt real. This was the perfect casting. Perfect. And she was not white passing. She was not biracial passing. That was a black woman. A full-figured black woman. Clocked it. Played her role down at that. Annie served as the resident hoodoo priestess, the community's anchor. Her rituals, her charms, her lore is all rooted in African traditional religions. Annie's unwavering faith and knowledge in ancestral practices literally provided a counterbalance to the chaos unleashed by these vampires. Everything that the character Annie did was very intentional, y'all. Very, very intentional. Ryan Coogler did an amazing job with the details, from the mojo bag, for her cooking for the community, for the juke joint, because, like I said, the hoodoo priestess were anchors in the community back then. And they were revered as faithful servants. Not only faithful servants to the Christian Lord, but faithful servants to the deities. They were your doctors. They were your midwives. They were your counselors, spiritually and worldly. So when I tell you they were pillars of the community and very important in the South at this time, they really were. They prefaced this whenever Smoke came to visit her and she was first introduced. You could see a bottle or a jar of milk next to a rock with a baby print hand. And even in the movie theaters, the first time we saw it, my husband, which I was a little confused at how he didn't pick up on what Ryan Coogler was putting down, was like, what is that? And I'm like, what do you mean, what is that? It's an offering for a baby. So it was almost like they, kind of prefaced it, and then whenever the kids were in there buying herb or root and paying in plantation dollars, that's what that money was. The little wooden chips and that paper that didn't look like cash money, plantation money. That's what they were paid. And then one thing that I wanted to mention, did y'all see her old school elekes? I'm gagged. Her old school elekes. It was very much so intentionally made us realize that she was a spiritualist, probably a crown initiated priestess. She knew all of the lore. I've taught y'all in other videos, you cannot let vampires in your house unless you invite them. And she was the one who clocked the tea whenever everybody was turning. When Cornbread turned, and she was just like, why can't you walk your big ass up in here? You've been doing it all night, basically. and just admit that you're dead and you can't come up in here. Only a spiritualist would have known that. And the way that she made Smoke promise if she was turned that he would kill her told me that she wanted to go to the ancestral realm, not only because she didn't want to be a vampire, because who wants to do that, right? She had an ancestor that was waiting on her, and we always think about ancestors as being someone old, but they could be your newborn baby. And this is basically confirmed whenever Smoke walked up to her property and we seen that she set offerings out for her ancestor baby. Another little Easter egg, I don't know if y'all noticed it because I haven't seen anybody mention this on social media, is whenever Stack and Smoke were tussling after Stack had been turned into a vampire, how he tried to go in and choke or stab, I don't know. He was trying to go in to either bite his brother or choke his brother who was still mortal. And that mojo bag that Annie made him made a quick sound, and you had to be really paying attention. But it was a sound of like a repel sound. He couldn't do it. Smoke was never ever meant to be a vampire. He was meant to move on into the ancestral realm with Annie and the baby. And if you think about it, maybe an hour before, she had recharged his mojo bag. Clock that tea. She recharged it. She poured some rum over it, prayed over it, and ended her prayer with Ashe. Sis was that girl. Sis is what every hoodoo conjurer aspires to be after years and years in their practice. Next character I'm going to cover is Remick, okay? And Remick is the Irish vampire that was wreaking havoc and turning everybody in the community. And when we first meet Remick, he falls out of the sky on fire, damn near. His ass was barbecued. And if you think about how this relates into biblical texts, he was the fallen angel. And I love that Ryan Coogler introduced the Choctaw natives. Now, I hate that he did not play more on this because they have parakis, they have stories, folklore behind skinwalkers, shapeshifters, vampires, werewolves. I love that whenever he came to the door, he was like, he is not what he seems, because Remick, believe it or not, is the most diabolical villain that I think I've seen in a long time. And he's so diabolical to me because he wasn't there to just kill you and turn you into a vampire and throw you away. He gave African Americans in Jim Crow hope. Whenever he came up to the door of the juke joint after he had turned Stax and Mary, he said, "You can live in paradise free from hatred. We're gonna go pay them clan members a visit right now." That's his goddamn nephew. He ain't say the words exactly, but I'm trying not to get demonetized. So when I tell you that he was diabolical and he was probably the most unhinged, because he promised paradise to people who were already very much so marginalized and underserved and abused. He promised them hope in a hopeless place. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people had the conversation online about whether Smoke should have went or stayed whenever he seen that his brother was turned and they were trying to get them to let them in or come outside. And this is why I say Remick is the villain that you never want to run into, because he plays off of your tears, your fears. He plays off your hopes to be free, to live in paradise, to not have to deal with what they were dealing with back then. And that was hell. It was hell on earth. Don't think just because slavery was over that we weren't still experiencing the consequences and repercussions of some shit that we didn't even choose. We were still being lynched. We were still being abused. We still worked on plantation. My great-grandmother, who just passed away in 2017, picked cotton as a child in adolescence. This shit is closer than we really think it is. So when I tell you it is scary, he was scary, but not scary in the way that a typical villain is. Ryan also made a very today correlation between, or even reference, I would say, between Remick and Preacher Boy, because a lot of our style, a lot of our music is colonized. And whenever he heard Sammy play, he wanted that power. He even tried to recreate it outside with the people that he turned. Because remember, when he first came to the juke joint, he stood outside and he could see the ancestors. He could see the future lineage, descendants of the people that were in the juke joint. And he wanted that. He wanted to harvest that energy. And so he tried to recreate it, but he knew he could not. And that's why he wanted to colonize Preacher Boy. It's also worth noting that Remick was also a victim of colonization. Christian colonialism was a thing, and they did it to the Irish. And the only two things, well, really one thing that they had in common, or what rejoiced African Americans and the Irish, was music and Christianity. And though a lot of the Irish settlers came here and became slave owners themselves, Remick, that was not his thing. It really wasn't. He identified, I feel like, more with the African American community than not. Because whenever he turned all of them, he said, we about to go get the Klan now. And was just like, we're not about bigotry, we're about love. We want you to come and join our community. We want you to be free. That wasn't his thing, because he was colonized as well. And even though he was pretty old, he was turned into a Christian. Not only a vampire, a Christian. And the most telling part is whenever he was attempting to turn Preacher Boy, and he gave him a DIY baptism, and Sammy and Preacher Boy, remember, follow along, are the same people. So he started giving him a DIY baptism, and Sammy started praying. Okay? And then Remick started praying with him as well, and said, the man that turned me prayed with me too. So they had more in common than not. And that whole scene, I mean, the baptism, you have to think about what a baptism is. The whole congregation, the other people that were turned into vampires, prayed as well with Sammy and Remick. And it gives that duality that even though there is a Christian God, is that Christian God strong enough to fight the force of sin? Christianity is not the end-all be-all, because if the Christianity religion could prevent things like that, we wouldn't have me. We wouldn't be talking about these pot of keys, about vampires, loup-garous, haints, hags, werewolves. It wouldn't even be a thing. That would not be a thing. So I love that he acknowledged Christ, acknowledged the Christian faith, but also said the Christian faith allowed this duality. Duality, it's all duality. The next character that I'm going to talk about is Mary. Now, Mary frustrates me so bad. White people, there's a difference between being an ally and wanting to be the center of the allyship, because that's exactly what Mary did. And it cost the whole damn juke joint, the main cast, their lives, because she just could not sit down somewhere. Mary's character was that of a woman of mixed heritage, navigating racial boundaries and becoming a vampire. And she became a vampire because she was in a space that was not meant for her. Again, I love how Ryan Coogler inserted very much issues that we deal with today with white people wanting to be in black spaces. Now, though she was white, right? Because I know a lot of people were saying like she's white passing because she had a half black granddaddy, which that one drop rule very much so applied. But she was married to a whole white man and was not satisfied. She just had to be in the spaces of black people, other black women. Another socially very much so aware topic that he kind of played in on is whenever her and Stax were having a disagreement and he told her ass to get up out his club. And then he disrespected the black woman and said, Do I need to get one of these field bitches to drag your ass up out of here? And she, because most black men who date white women always invalidate, insult the black woman for their white counterpart, right? And then she goes, do you think I'm worried about one of these bitches? Like, you taught me how to fight, blah, 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 blah. It's very much socially aware, and it's still things that we deal with today. Mary was just confused. She was confused, but she was very aware. And she, at the train station, whenever she first saw Stax, referred to him as boy, putting her dominance over him, like proclaiming the dominance, because she was white passing, married to a white man, but wanted some on the side. She wanted to be a part of the culture. And so whenever these very much so white vampires came, she played into that privilege, that she was a white woman, and tried to bridge the gap that did not need to be bridged. It never needed to be bridged. Could the vampires could have gotten to them without Mary's assistance? Yes, very well, probably. But it wouldn't have been as much of a massacre if she would have just set her ass down somewhere. The next character I'm going to be breaking down is Pearline. Pearline. Her character was very interesting. I felt like she was a bored, unhappily married housewife looking to have fun. That is very much so a theme today. You get bored. But this character was all about sexual awakening. I don't know if I could say that on here. This was the sexual awakening. And I feel like her relationship with Preacher Boy was to teach him a few things about what the real world, what real women feel and experience. What a man, because remember in the beginning I said he started out very much so adolescence, old teenager, but he ended the movie as a man. I felt like she was trying to learn him some things, and he ended up being the perfect counterpart to learn her some things. I felt like her offering him some nookie and him eating her cookie was a sexual awakening for her as well. Because back then, that was very taboo. And he didn't care that she walked in that Mississippi sun all the way there. So I feel like they taught each other certain things, like I said, duality. The fact that they were listening to secular music, doing what they was doing in the back of that damn juke joint, that all just screams from a Christian perspective, the devil. It's the devil, right? That's sin. You're not supposed to do it. It was all so very much taboo that it played perfectly into the theme of the movie. Grace and Bo, I love that he represented the underserved or under talked about. They weren't underserved because they could own businesses that we could not own. But I love that he inserted the Chinese population that was in the Delta, because my people come from the Delta. My grandmother, she's still living. She came from the Delta. My great-grandma, my great-grandfather, all of them are from Mississippi. And I was always told that there were Chinese people in Mississippi that sound just as black as me and you. You know, we have our own vernacular. And I love that Bo, he was a sense of community. And so was Grace, but to a certain extent. And I feel like once it all came down to it, once the shit hit the fan, she abandoned the community. And that just shows, that's a representation that all of us ain't in the community, even if we in the community. Because when she let them in because of her own fears and her own selfishness, it's like we really don't have no allies. It is a issue we still deal with today. Delta Slim probably was one of my favorite characters. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say the reason why I feel like he was one of my favorite characters, outside of Annie, of course, is because he was the trauma, the laugh from keep from crying. He was the comical relief, because us as black people, we often have our ancestors, like older people. Even to this day, when I talk to my grandmother about certain topics, it will break out into a hum, because they have experienced trauma that is so great that all you can do is either joke about it, chuckle about it, or sing about it. And He represents what music was to us. And it still is to this day, to bring together, to heal, to laugh to keep from crying. That aspect is also within music. So I really love that. And it was like he was kind of the glue to the community as well. Everybody could talk to Delta Slim and have the same reaction. Either they was calling him drunk, or they was laughing, joking, whatever, or they were listening to the stories of an elder. If you notice, the worst thing that this man was called was drunk. Okay, he was a neighborhood drunk, but why was he? Because of all of the spiritual and worldly trauma that he experienced. He was not an alcoholic by choice. He was actually an alcoholic to survive, to keep the numbing going on in his brain about what he was experiencing. So I really loved him because I feel like whether it be alcohol, cooking, keeping yourself busy, our ancestors and elders had to do that, keep their mind busy, because that trauma does not go away. It just lives on and passes on to me and you. Some other Easter eggs that I caught about this movie was how Smoke was always handed a cigarette. And in the end, he was trying to roll his cigarette. And the first time I seen it, I thought he was just so shaken up by the night. But no, he had the trembles. And I feel like this trauma could have been attributed to the fact that him and Stax served in World War I. It would have been, that's the only war that they could have been in. And he had PTSD. That's what I think. These are just Easter eggs that I picked up. Another Easter egg that I picked up is whenever Remick fell from the sky and there were vultures on top of Joan, and I don't even remember her husband's name, the clan member's nephew, who got turned first. Vultures were circling their house and then landed on top of their house. Vultures signify death. They signify death, and it's just so odd that either those vultures followed Remick there and landed on the house, or landed on the house because they knew that the occupants were going to die. Vultures are very spiritual animals, and they sense and smell death. Another Easter egg that I'm not sure anybody caught, because I've seen this movie twice, is there's two end cutscenes, right? And the first one is years and years later in the 90s, I'm assuming, or late 80s. Stax and Mary, they've been turned for decades at this point. They walk in young and they see Preacher Boy sitting down having a drink, and he sits down. I was worried for Preacher Boy for a quick second, and if you look behind the bartender, Stack has no reflection. Preacher Boy has what looks like a dark, clouded reflection in the mirror. Now, mind you, I told you that the themes around Robert Johnson, the man that sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads, was replayed in this movie a lot. And the second end scene is at the very end, and Sammy is playing his guitar and he's singing, and then he looks up. Now, some people can say that Sammy is portrayed as Robert Johnson, the man that sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads, because vampires don't have reflections. Soulless people just have a black shadow, an outline of what would have been their reflection. Another thing, I don't know if I consider that Easter egg, but the constant theme, especially whenever Remick DIY'd baptized Sammy, Preacher Boy, and he was doing the Lord's Prayer. And in the Bible, it says that the devil will know the word better than you. Another thing that I noticed is that all of Ryan Coogler's villains are callous but sympathetic and empathetic. All of them aren't necessarily bad guys, but are bad guys. I think about like Killmonger and the Remicks, and I'm just like, yeah, like Remick wasn't a clan member. He didn't subscribe to that shit. He wanted to free, or what he calls free, even though it's still in a sense colonize everybody that was at the juke joint. And the biggest Easter egg, and I don't even know if this is a big Easter egg, or if it's an Easter egg at all, like just what you need to realize is that the juke joint transcended just a juke joint. It wasn't just a venue, an entertainment venue. It turned into a spiritual hub. it was a portal. It was a portal. It was somewhere that where music and spirituality, the community, it kind of merged and turned into this place that had ancestors, descendants crawling out of. Sammy's performance ignited this spiritual awakening, and it summoned those ancestral spirits, blurring the lines of the physical and the metaphysical. So basically, they was just chilling, dancing in a damn portal, and it made it very susceptible to Remick and the other vampires, because since they weren't human, they had the sight, they had no veil, they could see the power that Sammy had, and they wanted to harvest it, they wanted to experience it for themselves. All in all, this is a classic now. I cannot wait till it comes on streaming, because I'm gonna watch it again. I am. Ryan Coogler will probably get my money at least 4 times, because this was an experience. And I know a lot of Christian people are condemning the movie. You're missing the point. The point is going over your head, and I've been yapping enough. I'm not even gonna go there, but you are missing the point of the story. Your ancestors are here and alive. And some of us have talents and powers that just don't make sense to the Christian population, even though these people with these said powers back then were a part of the Christian population. But that's for another video. 30 out of 10. Hell, 100 out of 10. If you have not seen this movie, go ahead and go see it. It is beautifully done. Even the lens that it was filmed in was just immaculate. It was entertaining. I didn't want it to end. I had a great time. I went back and saw it the next night, and I loved it, baby. It was very good. Shout out to Ryan Coogler and the whole cast crew of Sinners. Thank you. Finally, a movie that properly represents us spooky spiritualists, us church gals, if you will, which I was never a church hen, but it's just nice to see hoodoo practitioners put on screens. The Orisha faith kind of snuck in there. The Choctaw Indians, because a lot of us are native, you know, like seeing everybody, the Chinese population. I heard the Mexican population's upset because they weren't included. Well, ask a Mexican director why they weren't included. It was not for you. Mexicans were out of Mississippi by 1932, which this movie was set in. You can't please everybody, but I will say I was thoroughly entertained, pleased, and I give it the highest recommendation that I can. That is all, YouTube. And if you would like me to cover a topic, leave it in the comment section, or you can email me. And until next time, y'all do good, be good, and stay safe.